Welcome everyone to Tech Talk Friday, and today we're in the afternoon because we have a super special guest who's joining us, Karamjit Singh, who hasn't been part of Tech Talk for a long time. Welcome back, Karam. It's super good to have you back on the show. It's been a long time. I remember those days when we used to sit in my garden and have our Tech Talk in that kind of an environment. And
I,
today
I
we are doing Tech
that
Talk.
is that is not me. Okay, this is mischievous AI manipulating using Sora or Sura or whatever.
This
No
is
way.
this is not you. That looks exactly like you to me, right? But anyway, we had a good times. I think it's from 2018. I think 17 or 18 when we started Tech Talk. So it's been many years talking. Two Indian guys talking technology, talking. I think we today we believe tech. We want to talk tech that matters and really look at how we can bring tech and an understanding of tech to each of you. So Karam, tell us a bit about what's happening in the tech space. I mean, you cover with DNA the tech space in a very deep space. What's been trending? What's some new insights? What's the latest and the greatest in the tech scene?
I think you always like to. Roshan always likes to do this latest and greatest. So I think when you're covering tech from outside of Silicon Valley, or the data center alley, in the US, or your Boston area, or maybe in Cambridge area, there's very little deep tech now, okay, going on, latest and greatest, right? So that's just the reality of it. But I guess because I'm looking for companies or for entrepreneurs, right, who are trying to build things, right, and not build things like e-commerce, right? E-commerce is already so established, right? You can just use off-the-shelf software and do some customization, and really challenge, take on a difficult task. So those are the entrepreneurs I hope will come out and try to do the difficult stuff, because that's meaningful. But of course, then also in Malaysia, we're caught up in numbers. Five unicorns by the end of next year. 5,000 startups registered. So we have never been a mass play, right? And you may say 5,000 is not a lot. To me, it is, because you don't want to force things, right? You can create the right environment, ecosystem. And like, I think Ahmad Fukaha, from the founder of Katsana, we just featured him this week. Today is Friday, yeah. And it was his 10th year. I think April or May, he hit 10 years as an entrepreneur. And we did a story on him, and then we asked, what he thought, maybe, was right or wrong in the ecosystem. And he said, government has to make it easy, right, and fast for startup founders to fail also. Interesting. Make it easy means, we kind of misinterpreted him first. I said, we thought make it easy means, right, like you fail fast. But he said, no, make it easy also, because apparently, and it's been going on for a while, if you take a funding from the government, maybe not so much loan, if you take venture capital from the government, then they also make you sign a commitment where then you're responsible. Like, the company fails, right, and you've taken like a $2 million or whatever, you will still have to pay that. It's like a personal guarantee. So you're not letting people fail easy, he said, right? And you're creating a barrier. And also, then, interesting point he made, Roshan, is that if you make it so difficult, what's going to happen is that the funders also are going to fund easy ideas. Like your e-commerce, or your, now people slap AI and everything also, right? You can maybe get a better chance of funding, or analytics. So people are not doing the difficult thing, because the funders also are scared to fund and support something difficult. Then you get easy things coming through the system, and then it becomes a self-defeating ecosystem if you want to do that. So I thought it's very interesting. He's been in the space for 10 years, right? He's raised funding, so he knows what you mean. He's probably on the hook for the funding he took. He's raised about 3 million ringgit in grants, right? About what, 800,000 US dollars. So very interesting that people who've been in there and knocked their heads against the wall and trying to make it for 10 years share that insight. So I thought it's quite interesting. So we got to make it easier, right? And actually, one entrepreneur who's in biotech told me he walked away from funding after so long, taking it, signing all the dotted and doing your due diligence and blah, blah, blah. In the end, he said that They're making me personal liable, and that's not entrepreneurship. That's not risk. It's all risk on my part. They want to even make mortgage the house if it fails, right? I got to at least leave something for my family. And this was years ago. So hearing this again, so there are some things we still need to do to make it easier. I know that the government agencies are afraid. Hey, bunker, this guy is doing something so risky. Then they will feel that their neck is on the line. So somebody's neck is always on the line. Say, might let the entrepreneur's neck be on the line. But then how do you create that supportive, enabling ecosystem, right?
Correct. Okay. And I mean, speaking of funding, I mean, one of the stories on DNA is the Wise AI raising 8 figures.
Yeah.
Sunway also were involved in it,
Sunway, yeah. And also, the thing I loved about this was, so I said, oh, yes, deep tech, right? So they've been I think Wise has been running since 2017. And one of the co-founders was actually a lecturer or professor in University Malaya. So if you see when the article I shared on LinkedIn, I also mentioned that if you go to his LinkedIn profile, you can see that he's received patents from the US, Trade and Patent of US, TPO, Trade and Patent Office, right? So not easy to get. So some serious word there which I never seen before in my life. So when people like this come out, right, become entrepreneurs, and they're trying to do stuff using AI, but in not just AI in like e-commerce, right, or AI in terms of will drive more advertising to you or more content. You read more DNA articles. No, that's not meaningful. He's trying to do AI around delivering digital identity. So I was like super pleased with the money they raised. Although they didn't share how much it was, right? But 8 figure in ringgit, let's say it's 10 million ringgit, still 2.2, almost 2.2 million US dollars lah. Decent sum. Yeah, so decent sum for series, I think series A, yeah. So that's decent sum, right? Not sometimes people raise 3 million, 4 million ringgit and they say series A, and then you kind of cringe and say, wow, so little, right? And you're calling it series A. But I just keep quiet and I just support them. You still need to be supportive, right? Because you don't achieve anything by just being super cynical and just everyone, hey, this is not there. Indonesia, 5 million US only series A. Of course, it's a market 270 million people. So different ballgame. You play a supportive role, but you hope for news like this. And the Wise AI guys at Tech Roshan are like geeks, right? So they never came up, never did any news, never do some TikTok video, Instagram, this and that, right? Just heads down, build the product, and then the business guy David tries to get some traction and do business, right? So it's fantastic to support people like this, right, and offer them DNS platforms so people can read about them and keep building. So the future of the country as a startup ecosystem lies with supporting with people like this, right? Next round, hopefully, then some other big government agencies come in, or Khazanah, or Quap comes in and say, hey, we'll put in 8-figure US, right, in US dollars. You want to be a global company, or you want to be an Asia-wide company, you got to now fund people where it's in US dollar equal serious, right? Because talent is global. I've got some people working for me doing 3D modeling, because we do some stuff around there. And the two boys are sitting in Ipoh. I say, shit, man. Although they're sitting in Ipoh doing work for me, people can discover that everybody puts up their profile on Fiverr or some other platform, right? So they can be easily discovered. Somebody in Singapore offers them 1,000 Sing dollars. They're already more than I'm paying them, right? So it weighs on you, and I'm a very small kuchi fuller. I'm worrying about this. Imagine our guys, right, who are trying to build things. So you really got to give them decent enough funding where they can raise. And I was at a startup pitching a quick one, a demo day by the tourism one, by MDAC, and then they got Bikesh, the near legendary. You are legendary, Bikesh is near legendary. Still a long way to still a long way to go to lose the near. So and then the Malaysian. So there were like 6 Malaysian, companies pitching demo day, right? One guy is from Australia and he's based out of Singapore. And then one guy is from Indonesia. So 4 or 5 are Malaysian. These 2 are not Malaysian. The Malaysians are raising 500,000, 100,000 ringgit, 250,000 ringgit. The Indonesian guy, put down like 250,000 US dollars. The Aussie guy out of Singapore put 1 million. So I'm thinking, what's going on here? So our fellas are thinking small, or you have to think small in your funding ask, because otherwise you won't get money, right? But then it becomes that just gradual path only. You keep raising so little, then you will be out competed by your competitor, because what the Malaysians are doing is not rocket science, right? People in the region understand. So it's kind of frustrating for me also to realize that our agencies need to top up and say we're going to give them some serious money, lah, right? Forget about ringgit, right? It's 100,000 US dollars minimum. Okay, then we are talking.
Right. No. So I mean, we are thankful that people like Wise have Karamjit there, lah, right, to showcase them and put them on a pedestal. Right?
I hope others ran the damn story also, lah. But we'll be following up with David to do actually a story about the journey, right, over the last 6 years so far. That will be interesting, right? The essence, the frustration, and this and that, the motivation.
Yep, and hopefully we'll see if we can also get them on our show at some point now.
Yeah,
but the other one,
absolutely.
Kasim is the other one that secured from Mbank, right? That's very interesting.
Yeah.
20.
So this is funding. It's a facility, right? Because Kasim is in the business of in the second-hand car ecosystem, right? So the bigger cash, they have in the piggy bank, right? Not the right word, sorry. The more then they can offer loans to customers out there, right? Because customers want to get loans. So of course banks are giving them loans. So coincidentally, 2 weeks ago, everybody talks about Kasim as a unicorn, but I realized that even as a tech media, we don't know the business of Kasim so well now, right? And then also as the founders raise a bit more money and you become a bit more wary of media that you think is not so friendly or more independent, right? So you don't want to talk to them. We say, hey, you got to give us a briefing so we understand the whole business model. So it was really fascinating. And then Kasim credit was fascinating. I said because in the US, Caramex and Carnation are doing well now. Is because they've got the ability to lend you money also, right? And you try to make money from wherever you can, because Grab doesn't just make money from sending people here to there, right, using another person's asset. So you need various revenue streams. So this is an important one. So we're talking about that, and they say, yeah, we've got about at any one time they got about 3,000-4,000 cars that they're giving loans out for, right? Which can 3,000 doesn't sound like a lot, right? Or 4,000 actually. It's like about 150,000, 200,000 ringgit, right? Million. Sorry, 100. That's not small chunks, right? So they need this kind of money. So it's great that the bank came in. So because it's not a funding, I was going to say Eric, Roshan. You don't look like Eric. Yeah, okay, the founder of Kasim, Roshan. So
I wish I was.
so the bank, giving them the loan is great, because the bank is going to be literally looking underneath, and between his legs and everywhere to make sure this is a safe investment to make. So to get 100 million commitment from Unpack is great. It shows that their business model is robust, because they had some criticism. There was a very critical article by Daniel Sherman, DSF, right, last year, saying that the company's numbers are not so good, they're in trouble and all that. Maybe they would have been, but you reduce your headcount. I think they reduced the headcount by about 20%. So you right size, right? And you're now. I asked them how. They say actually we're finding that we're able to do more with less people. Of course, right? That's why the Silicon Valley giants also cut so many people. You can always do more with less, and you become much more serious, thoughtful, right? How you want to bring in people also. So they are a better company now where they were last year or 2 years ago. This is proof of that, and they're building their numbers to become profitable so that they can go for listing. Because Caro, their competitor out of Singapore, which has got Malaysian investors in them, I have no idea why. Quap, PNB, please, answer to the rakyat, okay? So invested in them over Kasim. So I'm like, hey, what's going on here? But they were numbers people. They're looking. We think this is safer for us to park taxpayers' money, right? So they're scared. So you park where it's safer. So hopefully now Kasim can prove them wrong.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the other piece.
Roshan, by the way, is piggybacking off his neighbor's Wi-Fi. That's why his Wi-Fi not good. The guy is really in startup mode, man. Anything you can get for free, you get for free.
Bootstrapping like crazy, right? To make all ends meet, right? But the big talk in town is AI, right? Everyone's talking about AI this, AI that, AI products, and I know one of your write-ups at DNA was about Celcom DG launching this state-of-the-art AI experience center, right? Plus, we also see, I mean, the other interesting news, I think, is the Coursera numbers that say that Malaysian learners, especially in generative AI enrollment, have gone up ridiculous 806%, right?
If 10 people did it last year, and then you have 800 people doing it, of course.
Okay, so
No,
maybe
10,
you.
by not 880 people. So the base was
Anyway,
super low, lah. That's why.
okay,
So
anyway,
that's unique in me,
that's
lah, as a journalist.
news from DNA lah. So we'll take it with a piece of salt then. But then again, you're probably right. I
Hey,
mean,
no salt, okay? We are constant, man. Yesterday I met a lady, no, a professor from Xiamen University, and it's a Malay, Indian national. He's been here a long time. Say, Karanjit, if DNA runs something, I read it because it's serious news. Okay, don't say
there
that.
you go, there you go.
What
I
I
like that.
say, you can take with a pinch of salt, but not what DNA says. Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
carry on, carry on.
yeah. So talk us through this. I mean, a lot of people are making investments in so-called AI centers, AI training, AI this. On the flip side, when you speak to people like Nvidia and stuff, very little hardware is being purchased. I mean, there is some movement of hardware, but not in the scale of many of the other countries like Vietnam, Singapore, and others. And it's a kind of chicken and egg thing, right? I mean, you need the hardware, but you also need the people. You need the people, but without the hardware, they cannot get the practice, or they cannot get the experience needed to drive the AI ecosystem. What's the story behind Celcom
Okay,
DJ in
so
this?
that's not true. When you say without the hardware, you got the hardware. When you talk about in the world of AI now, is of course the chips, right? You can
The
use
GPU.
the NVIDIA's tier one chips, or you can even use chips still from Intel, right, and TSMC,
Sure.
right? There
Yeah.
are. If you can't, and of course, then you talk about the chips, and then of course the data centers, right, to build to house the chips, right, and servers. But if you don't have that, you just lease, lah, right? Your guys from, of course, the big four, right? Even Alibaba also they're not, but you can use other people
Starting
who
to.
are providing it as a service. So that's not true to say that without the hardware you cannot. Of course, Nvidia said not enough people buying. They want their share price to go up to a trillion, a billion trillion, or gazillion dollars, lah. Forget about what they say, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So, but answering you, yeah, AI is a lot. So this experience center is actually innovation. So I'm one of the very few people who remember, much to the regret of Celcom DG, because when Axiata and Telecom promised the government that, hey, if you allow us to merge, right, because you're reducing competition, right, we will, as part of our value add to the country, we will build, their own words are a world-class innovation center, okay? Not my words, world-class innovation center, right? And invest up to 250 million ringgit, right, over 5 years. So now they've merged, they've got the approval. Now this is only 11.7 million, with like 50 million ringgit, right? They've invested. And this is step one now. And then this center is supposed to then be a place where companies, startups, right? Anyone who's listening, right? You've got idea. If you're a volunteer at a school, or you're a school teacher, email them and say, bring your kids over, right? So they must make time for you. If they don't, let me know, and I'll call Kugan and scold him, okay? Because they have to make time to get you excited, so that next time Roshan can say, hey, Coursera says 8,000%, no more 800%. Right? Yeah, people are AI. So you need to get everyone interested. But this center was there, and they started by just a small step. And I actually, coincidentally, this whole week, Celcom DG had an open day. They had various stakeholder groups go and experience their AIX center. And I just went this morning, and I had planned to go this morning already before Roshan on Wednesday suddenly bushwhacked me and said I have to be on the show today. Okay, so but timing is good. Okay, so I went there, and then if you go there, they've got 40 different solutions, Roshan, where they're showing what's going on. And Kugan was there, the chief innovation officer, and he said that all the innovation you see here are either being piloted or already being used by a customer. So great. But the key story for all of us from Boleh land is how many of those 40 solutions, right, are from Malaysian companies, right? Malaysian tech companies from Malaysian founders, not resellers, but Malaysian companies with their own solution. He said at the moment it's 40% and 60% are foreign, which I think actually is very good. You're starting off with 40% great. Now I said I hope you can substitute some of those, right, the 60% with Malaysian, solutions, right, over the next year or 2 years. That's then where we get the value, correct? So so I of course threw a few names of our local companies, Katsana, Fukaha, if you're listening, and then Liu also, right, of MDT Innovation, and I probably one more, I forgot the name, right? And I told them, hey, you got all these guys out there, you better engage with them. So they need to engage with our guys who are also building their own stuff. and make them part of the innovation center, right? So that's important. But I'm going to expect them to do more. So I'm doing a follow-up story on this, Roshan, which is talking to some ecosystem leaders about what do they hope as the output, right? The impact of this innovation center. Not at the end of the day, after 5 years, they say, Karam, we've already committed, we spent 51 million ringgit, okay? So stop being on our case anymore, okay? Yeah, but what has been the output of that, right? And the impact to the country. That's the most important thing that all of us should be measuring at.
Okay. So, I think Subhash is giving a comment. He loves the authenticity of the interview. I think what he's saying is that our places are quite messy and not so nice, but that's a very authentic of you all to showcase that. Subhash, thanks for the comment. But what I want to close out. We want to talk a little bit about. We're going to do a segment with Danny Kim, the CEO of Cyber Armor. And Full Armor. And one of the things I want to talk about is the data centers. Right? I mean, a lot are cropping up in Johor, right? Your quick thoughts on TM and Singtel's Nexera is running new ones also. But so many, right? Microsoft. I mean, so many have committed to data centers. What's the story there? In 1 minute, what is your take on that?
No, it's just look. There was another company out of Singapore that opened up the data center. It only took them 12 months to open up in Johor, and they're not one of the big names lah. But they were saying that besides ticking all the boxes, right, Malaysia also has got land, because now with this AI-driven data centers, you need a lot of land, which Singapore doesn't have. So you need land for expansion, which Johor has plenty of. Sedena is becoming like the heartbeat, right, of the data center ecosystem in Southeast Asia. So, and they said talent we've got. They said very fast they've got like 70% of their talent now for this company are Malaysians, and it's going to get even better. And even by the way, in the US, when you talk about talent, they don't just talk about talent to operate the data centers, even to build the data centers. When you talk about the mechanical and the engineer M&E work, right, the electronics that go into your turbines and your generators, backup, all that, they have shortage of technicians who know how to put these pieces together. And even the hardware, the various components that go into it, not just the sexy chips, right? The chips cannot work with all the other unsexy part, right? The striker cannot work if without the defense and the goalkeeper and the midfield, correct? I forgot what position Roshan plays, but it's apparently very bad. But anyway, so in Malaysia, lucky because maybe when Asia the supply chain is shorter, we've got all these components here. So you'll see even more happening, but we want to see at the top tier when the data center, when the 2,000 construction jobs are over. How many people are hired, right? And how many of them are Malaysians? And so far, I'm getting good feedback from the market that we've got the right talent here, and there's enough of talent. Maybe not enough for future needs, but there's time to grow, right?
All right. So we've got only about 7 or 8 minutes, but we have a 10-minute segment.
Hey, you promised me 1 hour, man. Look at this fella. Give me last second. That's
So I just want to do a quick shout out. There's a Malaysia Leadership Summit that's coming up. You can check that out at MLS events.com and MLS. And 100% of all that will go to charity. But one of the things that we talked about, and Karam, I think I'm going to skip out the Mitre. We'll do the Mitre supply chain next week. So for those of you looking forward for the Mitre, to talk through the chain and what is this Mitre chain? I mean, people will ask. But essentially, it's really looking at how cyber terrorists.
Don't show them that. You're going to give everyone an instant migraine, man.
It's about from how they initially access it to execute to persist. And one of the things I think that we learned from Danny is that almost 100% of the top leaders in military, especially in the US government and others, they believe that most of the enemy is already inside the castle. So it's not preventing people from being there. And this is across all organizations. People are already inside. They're just waiting. They're trying to escalate their privilege to get to a different level. And then once they get there, they will start holding you hostage. So we'll talk about that in our next episode because I want to give Danny his full 10 minutes. We did a session with him. So we'll keep that for that. But Karam, one of the things we subject our guests to, and we'll go through the whole Mitre chain is a couple of interesting things I want to talk to you, Karam, about is that cybersecurity, right? I mean, if you look back at the attacks, and these were the largest data breaches from 2005 to 2017, a lot of them. But the attacks today have been very different. If you look at some of the attacks in the US and some of the attacks in Indonesia, where the airport recently got attacked, 2023 attacks, and we saw the GitHub, Microsoft, and we're seeing a lot of big boys getting attacked. And of course, the ultimate attack was MGM, where a whole casino was shut down. for a couple of days. As we look at that, Malaysia is in the top 10 countries that are being attacked by cyber criminals. I mean, what are your quick thoughts of cybersecurity? And what needs to be happening, because this is a space we hardly talk about. We talk a lot about investments, we talk about products, we talk about AI, but increasingly, right, we are seeing Southeast Asia being attacked. I mean, we saw the big Indonesian one. We saw Singapore law firms in Shuk Boklin had to pay almost $2 million ransom to get their data back, their legal data. And little companies, I mean, it's not the big boys that are getting attacked, it's the medium sized, the SMEs, smaller guys, the hospitals are getting attacked. So your quick thoughts on cybersecurity, Karamjit?
So I mean, everybody is vulnerable. Look, cybersecurity. When the pin dropped for me was 2014, when we did the first edition of our Digitality 50, and then Dylan Kabilan, right, a hack in the box, and he just told me that, Karam, one person, right, who's motivated, ferociously motivated, can actually, and who's got the patience, right? He or she, and I give credit to women also, like he or she, not just he, right? He or she can literally hack into any system they want if they have got the patience and the technical know-how, right? And can you imagine how scary that is? So this law firm, and it's lucky only one law firm, probably a lot of other law firms have been targeted, right? They just quietly pay. Is the reality, and you will never, because it's investment into cybersecurity. And we just talked about data center, where you must have the knowledge workers to be able to man data centers. Cybersecurity is even tougher. It's all just like advanced math, right? How many fellows in Malaysia have that sufficient knowledge to go into cybersecurity? Which is why PCOM, when they do their once every 2 years job report, right, you can see that the biggest gap, not just in Malaysia, but everybody's in Malaysia, and the highest paid executives are those in cybersecurity world. Right, there's a huge imbalance there globally, not just in Malaysia. So what does that mean? That's because even if you invest, right, you're hoping for your security provider, he or she knows enough. But then, if you are providing that, then are you then also leaving them some responsibility? You need to have a tech guy who's responsible to monitor 24/7, or then you say, we'll do everything for you. Which means then that if something happens, are you willing to pay, right? Cybersecurity insurance comes in, right? It's a whole value chain. And in the US now, latest, all the cybersecurity, the insurance companies are saying that it's getting too expensive. The premiums are going up through the roof, and legislation is coming in. Even the American Securities Exchange is now mandatory. They're pushing. I just saw an article yesterday. They're pushing back that. So the pieces of the ecosystem are still trying to fall into place. So it's a field day for all the bad actors, right? They can hack anyone they want, any hospital you want here. You're dedicated, you're focused, right? You don't have to be in Malaysia. You can hire somebody from wherever you want, right? From Afghanistan to Zimbabwe, A to Z of the countries in the world. So it's scary. So not enough, expensive, right? Not enough people. Companies don't have enough knowledge. And the vast majority of companies think that they're too small. Nobody's bothered about them. People will go and, whack, Malaysia Airport Berhad, right? Axiata, those guys with big databases, they're not going to whack a Kuchi Kurap, Roshan Karamjit, hospital for social good or whatever, right? Yeah. For the B40, the B10, nobody's going to bother with that.
And I mean, I had a contract I was signing with a guy in the US on Monday, and he told me, he sent me an email, said the contract, I just sent it to you. You should get it on our Adobe thing. Then you just sign it. Did you do a digital signature?
Yep.
Yeah. And then about 2 minutes later, I get an email, but it's not from Adobe, but it says this contract name and everything. And I'm like, in a PDF is attached, and I'm like, whoa, this is weird. It should be from Adobe, right? So I ignore it. And then I forward it to, I say, is this the one? He's like, no. So I'm like, hey, somebody was overhearing that conversation. I mean, somebody would have. So it's quite interesting that even small guys, like you said, everybody, right? And the other thing I think that's interesting is that the structure, the police, are defined by certain rules. We say this is how we do cybersecurity. This is how we do networking. This is how we have VPN set up. But these guys are not, the criminals are not defined by such rules.
Of course, no way.
If your aircon is your HVAC or your aircon is connected to the network, I will go through your aircon and connect to the network. I'm in. I'll just sit there and I'll escalate my privilege as time goes on, right? So I mean, there's so many different loopholes. And last week, I talking to Data, who formerly was part of the red team in the US, he was a hacker, right? So last week on Tech Talk, if you missed that, check out that episode. one of the things that data talked about, I think is interesting, is that there are a lot of old systems on legacy, from ships to
Yeah,
other
of
things.
course.
There are legacy systems, easy to enter. And once they enter, they can take control of so many controls, right? So there is significant risk across the world,
Yeah.
especially for manufacturing. Others want legacy systems, XP or 2000 or Windows 2000. I mean, there are thousands of systems. So I think it's an area that we need to kind of. One of the things I think Danny was supposed to share today, but he didn't get a time. I'm going to just show a quick 30 seconds video of the tech that Danny and also Data, the red team hacker, tried to hack but couldn't hack. It's a tech called Shepherd. But it's not really a cybersecurity tech. It's a networking track, right? So the way networking is done is like telephone cables. Anybody can get a telephone call, and that's how networking was set up. But these guys basically changed the way they did networking. They said, now let's do a one-on-one networking. So I only allow people that have been authenticated to come in and connect on a one-on-one. So creating these authenticated tunnels. So check out this quick 30-second video on Shepherd, because we didn't get to you, Danny, but we'll get to you next week. But I'll show the update on, and then I'll close out with quick thoughts from Karam on something else. So here's Shepherd. All right, so we'll get to Danny next week, and he'll talk all about Shepherd and the Mitre or
And
the
dead boxes. First time I'm seeing the word dead box. Normally, I thought you put a dead person into a box. This is dead box.
dead
Very
boxes. So
brave.
basically, this is a new way of networking where they close out all the open ports in every single computer and create tunnel between local ports. So it's an interesting new concept. I think it's gonna completely change a lot of things in the world. But we'll talk to him next week, and we'll have him featured next week. So with that, Karam, I want to close out. We always do this in our new version of Tech Talk. We have under 1 minute. You have to answer 5 questions. And I'm going to share these questions with you, but you have got about 20 seconds to answer each. So here's what we call the Tech Talk Fire Round, and we'll close this out with Karam under fire. So Karam, if you could change something in the world, what would you change?
Climate.
Climate, great. What is your favorite non-tech related topic?
Sex.
Right, I won't go deeper. What's the one business show, podcast, book you would recommend to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Alamak. Lex Friedman podcast in the US. Lex Friedman. Friedman, yeah.
We'll look at that. What's your favorite way to unwind?
Wow. Reading. Reading tech news. Unfortunately, it sounds so boring. I have to change it.
Okay, so this is a good time for you to reflect on your life. Imagine you have a time machine and can give one piece of advice to your younger self. What golden piece of nugget would you share?
Wow. Be hungry and think big, because growing up I never, the concept of think big or be hungry was not there, right?
Steve Jobs.
It's amazing.
Right. Okay, and last one. If you have one superpower related to business,
look at that. Roshan doesn't know how to count. Okay, 5 questions.
5. Okay. Last one. What if you have a superpower related to business? What would it be?
It would be equality.
All right, I like that. All right, Karam, we've had such an entertaining time today talking to our old host of Tech Talk Friday, Karamjit Singh. Welcome back. It's a Friday.
I was sacked, okay? He told me you're fired.
Did I thought I fired myself first. So if I recall well, I got fired and then Karam got fired, and then we both decided to make a comeback. But anyway, welcome back, Karam. Have a blessed weekend, everyone. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Have a great Saturday, Sunday. Nourish yourself, reflect, rejuvenate, and come back strong for Monday. And let's take Malaysia to greater heights, like Karam said. and let's continue to take our country to greatness. So this has been Tech Talk Friday. Signing out for now. This has been Roshan Tiran, and also with you is Karamjit Singh. So bye bye now from Tech Talk Friday.